There's something out in the woods, and it's getting closer to my home. The situation has become dire. It's been a day since my first entry, and a lot has happened in that time. I did not expect things to have escalated to the situation I am now in, but here we are. It all happened so fast. Before I recount all the events of the past couple days, I wanted to thank those who provided advice to me. Sadly, I didn't receive any sort of comfort from people having experienced such an animal before, although now I'm beginning to believe my experience is one of a kind. I saw someone suggest I call the police, and while that may be perfectly reasonable where you're from, it's more of an arduous task in my area. Like I mentioned in my first entry, I live beyond nowhere, and that was a choice my wife and I made a long time ago for our own betterment at that point. An unfortunate sacrifice for basically living off the grid is emergency services are much further from you. This proved to be a significant hardship during the last few months of my wife's life, and an outrageously expensive one at that. Regardless of the great lengths and costs of getting law enforcement out here, I'll also add that I have no idea what they can do for me at this point. Where I left off in the last entry, I didn't have anything concrete enough to warrant calling anyone out here. Now, as I write this, I'm in a much more dire predicament, and I do not want anyone else to be put in harm's way just for me. Yesterday, around early afternoon, I hopped in my truck with the intention of going to see if my distant neighbors knew anything of those strange sounds I was hearing. They were a younger and larger family from what I'd seen over the years. 3 or 4 kids, varying from kindergarten age to whatever age they decide to start coloring their hair. None of them were close to senior prom, I'd say. The father was an odd concoction of businessman and moonshiner, perfectly straight teeth and freshly cut hair, contrasting with his aggressively camouflaged get-ups. The mother looked a similar sort of way, but even more of a parody of the outdoor trope. Think 2 models from New York doing a country music video. We'd briefly exchanged some meaningless words in the past, with my wife doing most of the talking. As my truck bumped and struggled up the narrow, inclining dirt road, I thought of what I might tell them. "Hey guys, how's it been up here? Heard any of the monstrous noises coming from the woods lately?" I was puzzled on how to deliver the true intentions of my spontaneous visit. I didn't want to scare 'em or come off as a demented creep. The dirt road we both live on is a miserable excuse for a road, more like a glorified hiking trail. It's wide enough for a standard truck, but anything bigger would get tangled in the stubborn growth. I could have sworn it used to be a tad more spacious, though. This forest has always had designs on reclaiming our one connection to the rest of the world, but driving on it at this point, it seemed to have the upper hand. It was hard to imagine my neighbors' bulky designer trucks driving down this overgrown path. Have they left home any time recently? The thought darted through my mind, and I ignored it quickly. The rocky ride up to their property was all too short, and I still didn't feel prepared as I passed their mailbox and slowly continued up their steep driveway. Their long and winding driveway offered a little relief, as they had a much more cared-for gravel job done when they built their home. My truck appreciated the steadier terrain, but I was lost in my anxieties all the same. As I rounded one bend after the next, I worried more and more that they'd hear me coming and think I was something nefarious. People out in the sticks love their guns and can often view their property as a sovereign nation of sorts. I can't pass much judgment. I'll sometimes reach for my Mossberg upon hearing the occasional mail truck before realizing. I just prayed to myself they wouldn't be looking for target practice. I rounded one final bend before I could see the roof of their lodge-style mansion. I slowed my vehicle speed down to a crawl in hopes it conveyed a friendly intention. As I approached and saw more details of the house, I quickly slammed on the brakes. Something was covering much of their house. I couldn't quite make it out or make sense of it. With great hesitance, I rolled up closer. Things never started making sense, sadly. Eventually, I parked my car right next to theirs, and I still didn't understand. I got out and looked at their great big house, which was nearly entirely wrapped up in some giant sort of web. The webbing was so thick that I couldn't even see the parts of the house which were within its confines. The wrapping was so strong it had caused damage, cracking and warping the home's corners. I didn't understand. Something automatic within me willed me to step out of the truck. As I walked around the scene, I discovered new findings. The left side of their lifted black truck was smashed in as if it'd been T-boned. The driver's door was open but hanging from its hinges as if something ripped out the driver. I now saw traces of dried blood everywhere. As my eyes grew more accustomed, the more blood I picked up on. All over the interior of the totaled truck were splatters of blood. The truck windows that weren't shattered were covered in it. The gravel driveway was a canvas for more. All over the place were long drag marks and coagulated puddles, even on the sections of the gravel that appeared untouched. If I bent over and observed closer, I could see uncountable amounts of little droplets and dots of blood. I couldn't believe it. These poor people were brutalized by that noisy thing out there, and I'd been none the wiser. I had no idea how long ago this had happened, but it looked like it had all happened very fast when it did. There were absolutely no remains of any kind, and I looked relentlessly for anything to help me understand. I walked around the house to see if there was anywhere the horrible webbing had left an opening large enough for me to get in, but I found no such error. I found another one of their cars, though, a similarly lifted and bulky SUV that was also matte black. I tried the handle and the door opened right up. I looked inside and couldn't find much besides what looked to be a hunting map of the general region. I had seen it before. Something a bait and tackle shop about 15 miles off sold at the register. Our little hauler had just made the cut in the bottom right of the map. I figured a map of the area would be a good asset I didn't have, so I stuffed it in my pocket with my shaking hands. Beyond the map, there was not much left there that I could see would be of use. I think it's accurate to say I was in some mild form of shock and bewilderment, and wasn't in the soundest of mind. Maybe that contributed to what I did next. As I tried to walk calmly back to my truck, I had the thought that someone might still be stuck inside that house. What if some of the kids were still alive in there? I approached the mess of web and cleared my throat, calling out with my pitiful hoarse voice. I couldn't remember the last time I had used it. It took a few tries, but after one of my calls, I heard a faint scream coming from inside. Someone shouted,
Hello? Is someone out there?
I heard what sounded to be the voice of a young girl, maybe 14 or 15, inside. Yes, it's your neighbor, I yelped back. Are you all right?
Oh my God, thank God.
The girl cried back. What happened here? I tried to position myself in a way where I could hear her better. I think she did the same.
Something, I don't know what. It was huge and it came out of the woods and attacked us.
The girl was sobbing through every sentence.
I think it killed my dad and my mom, maybe my sister and brother too. I was inside when it happened.
My God, I'm so sorry. I searched for anything else to say. I came up here on a hunch because I've been hearing the damn thing the last few nights. I'm so sorry.
I don't know what it is. I just want to get the fuck out of here already. It's been days or maybe even a week. Please call someone. The stuff it wrapped the house in, it's fucked everything up. All the power's out in here.
I've got some grass shears in my truck. I can cut you out and we'll get out of here, okay? I was struggling to breathe. This poor girl had been through so much, and all the while I'd been sitting out on my damn deck, listening in.
Please, just get me out of here, please. I'm so fucking scared.
The girl blurted out. All right, I'm gonna get you out. Don't you worry, I'll be right back, okay? I wobbled to my truck and sifted through all my useless junk until I finally felt the handle of my rusty grass shears. I pulled them out and rushed back to the wall of webbing. I'm back. Where's a good place to cut? I can hardly see through this stuff, I asked urgently. I waited some time and then heard a thumping sound a few feet to my right.
This is the door, right here,
she said as she continued to bang on the door that was invisible to me. I took a long look at the web as I aimed my shears. Every strand was like a thick rope wider than my arm. Cutting this would be no easy task. I opened up the shears and struggled as they bit down on the sticky rope. I grunted and strained, undoubtedly injuring myself. Finally, I cut through one single strand. Upon the severing, I heard a long and deep rumble reverberate around the house and through the forest until it faded into the sound I was more familiar with after listening so closely the last 3 nights. The long, plucking rumble. I had a feeling this webbing might have extended into the nest of the unknown thing, but I hoped it was the supposed nest it fled from the night prior, and not its new home. I looked down at my shears, and they were an unusable mess of sticky web-like tar. I couldn't even open them back up. They were so fused together by this absurdly strong substance. I panicked at the realization that I alone could not cut through this web, and I'd have to go get help. I wanted to vomit just at the thought of having to tell this poor girl that information. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry, but I'm not going to be able to cut through all this on my own. It's just too thick, I said helplessly. I began to see water in my eyes.
What? No, please don't leave me here. Do you have anything else you can use? Or a phone? Do you have a phone on you?
I began to pat my pockets with unnecessary force as if that would materialize the phone I left back at home. I know it's probably ridiculous, maybe irresponsible sounding to younger people, but I never developed the habit of bringing it everywhere I go. For once, I wish I possessed that habit. No, I don't have it on me. But I can go make the call and be back up here in no time. How's that sound?
Fuck! Fine, I'm sorry. Thank you. I just really want to get out of here. Please hurry,
she said with desperation. I'll be right back, okay? You're gonna be okay, I shouted as I moved as fast as I could to my truck. Stupid damn idiot. I don't want to ride it. but I have no excuse. I'm the lucky one. I got in my truck and started peeling out. As soon as I got some good speed, I heard the little thunderous taps, except they were not at all little this time. With great volume and moving incredibly fast, I saw the massive thing running towards the house in my rear view mirror. I slammed on the brakes and looked out my window. Within seconds, it went from the woods to the exact location I had cut the single strand of web moments before. Something deep within me awoke, something that must be in all of us that lays dormant. I felt the primal fear of my ancient ancestors run through my veins like an administered drug as I watched this leviathan demolish its own web in seconds, only to then move on to the house. It was not impressed by man-made structures. With a few stabs of its sickeningly long legs, it breached my neighbor's house, smashing into the lodge over and over until finally the thing had enough room to cram its body inside to feast on that poor girl I had just promised would be set free. I heard her screams. They were the worst thing I've ever heard. The screams of someone being chewed by something that we usually stomp on. It shattered me. The arachnid did not make any guttural noises one might expect from something so monstrously huge. It operated in silence. The only sounds it emitted were consequences of its immense size. I could only bear so much torment before I sped off down the hill. Somehow it didn't follow me. It must have been satiated enough, or maybe it was looking forward to a future hunt. I don't care to understand its logic. This thing is nightmarish. I'll try to describe what I saw. I understand how silly all of this may sound, but I don't care. Believe me or don't. When it ran to the house, I first saw its extremely long and comparatively skinny front legs in my rear view. Then came the face. I had a side profile view, so not the greatest, but I made out two large fangs protruding from a hideous head. The fangs were like two swords. I saw that they had some dexterity to them. The fangs could move individually. Maybe they were moving with excitement. The remainder of the legs were chunkier and more muscled. There was maybe some hair on them, but it was so disproportionate to normal-sized animals that it was hard to tell if it was hair or some other terrible thing. The front two legs that were skinnier seemed to be incredibly sharp and fast. Those legs cut up the web and stabbed through the house. I'm guessing those are the limbs responsible for the hole-punched deer I saw. The body was ugly and beaten up, but in parts it was black and shiny like a widow spider. The overall size is probably not something I could faithfully judge, but it looked to be nearly half the size of my neighbor's house, which stood 3 stories and well over 3,000 square feet. The beast altogether looked primordial, like it had been asleep for millions of years or more. I'm nothing but an old tired man, but that's the only thing that would make sense to me. What I've been describing might fit the description of a spider, and it's definitely something in that vein. But I believe it's much older than the spiders we know. It's something old, and where I live is one of the oldest pieces of land in the world, a land that predates trees. Maybe this ancient land harbored this arachnid until it finally woke up or hatched. I'll never know. All I know is it's here now, and it's violent. History must have kept this place a secret for much of time, and somewhere along the way we forgot what was here. Past civilizations would have seen this thing and declared it the devil. Maybe it is the devil, and all the religious texts changed his image to something more familiar, more comfortable. I don't know. What I know, as I write this, is that I'm all alone. That poor girl was the last one out here alongside me. I now know the second I cut that strand, that girl was dead, no matter what. No matter who cut that first strand of web, she'd be dead. But I was the one who did it, and so I blame myself for it. Maybe if I called some brighter minds to come help, they would have instead cut a hole in the relatively untouched roof, or found some other way. But they probably would have done the same thing I did. Who the hell would expect a giant spider to come from the woods? I just wanted to help. I'm sitting in my den, writing this. It's getting quite late. I don't know what else to do. I'd ask for more advice, but I've lost a lot of my willpower after the whole deal earlier today. I don't know how to fight this thing. I don't know how to call for help. I'm not about to bring this demon more food. I don't even know how to get in my truck and drive away, because I can see 8 eyes shining through the forest like headlights, looking right at my house this very moment.